My name is Beatrice Behlen and I'm the Senior Curator of Fashion and Decorative Arts at the Museum of London. And where we are here at the moment is we're in the costume store at the Museum of London, where we keep the whole of our fashion collection. We have here about 20,000 objects ranging from the 16th century to now. We have about 3,500 fashion plates from the 16th century again to the 1840s. So it's a fantastic resource, and again we're going to put more of them online, but it's still a different thing to actually look at them. And recently also I had a student who was looking into these things on the head, these high structures, they're called fontanges, and she's writing her MA about them. So, and they don't survive, you can only sort of look at them in pictures. We're now in the store proper, so that's where we keep our garments, and we keep them in different ways. This particular cupboard is sort of late 19th century, early 20th century shoes, and these ones actually belong to someone called Kitty Lord, and they were part of her stage outfit, so we have some theatrical clothing as well. This actually contains all our gloves, and we have about 400 pairs of gloves, might even be more. And it starts off with the 17th century gloves. What is interesting, and you don't sort of notice if you only have a quick look, is if you look properly you can see that this glove, for instance, the fingers are enormously long, and that was just a beauty ideal, so people were meant to have very fine long fingers. The other thing we have is sort of more modern items, and one item I really like is down here, and it's a boxing glove. It's just one of them, but it was worn in a championship by Henry Cooper in 1970. This came in the 90s, I can see that from the label, and we might have bought this one. But we have a lot of Mary Quant because the museum used to be at Kensington Palace, and the last ever exhibition at Kensington Palace before it was moved here was a Mary Quant exhibition, so she gave quite a lot of clothing after that. Down here we have a lot of menswear, so this whole range is mainly 18th century, and I'll just pick one out. So in this first bay we have a lot of waistcoats, so this is an early 18th century waistcoat. What we've got here is things that are rolled up, so big shawls, banners and things like that, and it's a real mixture. So if I just pick one up, one here is a shawl exhibited at the Great Exhibition in 1851, and I had that out recently and it's absolutely amazing, it's really enormous. And then other things are like here at the back, for instance, we have a suffragette banner from the Hampstead branch. So we've got quite a lot of items relating to the suffragette movement. So we don't just have fashion, we have things that illustrate the history of London. We recently acquired a pair of snakeskin shoes from 1945, and they have a utility mark in them, and which is quite unusual. People always think utility means austerity, but these are snakeskin, but I guess there was much use for snakeskin during the war. And you can tell a big story just from these shoes, because they were worn by a lady. She bought them second-hand. They were her wedding shoes, and the daughter who gave them to us, she also gave us 4 years worth of diaries from the woman, and they're really, really funny because she goes out with maybe 8 to 10 boys, and she always writes about going to the pub, going to the pictures, and she talks about air raids as well. And then finally she settles on Arthur, who was a lodger in the same house where she lived, and he was a Barnardo's boy, and then they went out, and it's really sweet because it says on the 31st of December 1943 or something like that, she said at the end of her diary, Arthur said he loves me, and then they go to the pub. So it's a really sweet story. You can just tell by showing a pair of shoes. This is a great store in many respects, but there's also a lot of things that could be much improved. And I'd love to have a purpose-built space for our collection. That would be wonderful. We get a lot of students coming in looking at objects all the time, so the easier you can take the taking out, putting back, the easier you can make that, the more people we can actually show things. And another thing I miss at the moment is we have quite a lot of objects on display here at the museum, but there are lots of parts of the collections that I would like to show to people. We have a lot of good London designers, like there's one I really like, Victor Stiebel from the 1930s, 40s. You could do a display on him. Next week you could maybe do something on shoes or hats. We have a fantastic hat collection. We have beautiful 1920s dresses, but also you could do something, tailoring seems to be a big theme at the moment, so you could do something on that. The main thing we need is very low tech, we just need a big table. But what I'd love to have is a bit of backup support. I'd love to have a projector, because if I show people stuff from the 60s, it'd be great to have some footage from the 60s, from Carnaby Street or something like that. I'd also love to use one of these new microscopes, and I'm sure they're going to get smaller and smaller, and then hold it up to a fabric or some beading or something, and then project it onto a screen so people can sort of see what the fabric is made of or how it is made.